Procedurally generated, permanent death, roguelikes allow their unique mechanics to be incorporated into any genre, resulting in a sea of diverse games with infinite possibilities. And with new unique roguelikes being released every single day, I like to play and analyze the ones that may not have had the chance to shine yet. If that sounds interesting, welcome to the series where we learn what works, what doesn't, and why, all in search to find the next big roguelike.
Empire in Decay. This seems to be some sort of a deck-building, board-centric, tactical, turn-based roguelike with some pretty impressive visuals. This is a game made by a small studio based in Spain, and the game currently is not even out for early access. I got an early beta, and there is a demo available on Steam if you want to check it out. Now, I am kind of on a chess roguelike roll right now because we did Future 1 not too long ago, and we've got another one coming up fairly soon. I find it interesting to compare each one of them because chess roguelikes are really specific, but they all do it fairly differently. And in this one, they did broadly say that it has chess-related stuff in it, but what caught my attention is that when they sent the game to the channel, they also mentioned that if we enjoyed Balatro, Into the Breach, Slay the Spire, or Darkest Dungeon, that this could be the game for me, which is really interesting because they're all turn-based games and they're all drastically different from one another. And I think that's what I'm really excited about with this particular game, is that it does seem to be a turn-based roguelike with a lot of different variations in gameplay. I'm not too sure what to expect, but I'm definitely excited. Now, as per usual, I'm going to be playing this game for a couple hours. We're going to be showing some highlights of that, and then I will give my overall thoughts on the game as a whole later in the video. So if you want to skip ahead, timestamps below. All right, let's go check out Empire in Decay. Okay, we're gonna start with the tutorial. I feel like there's gonna be quite a few mechanics in this kind of game, so let's see. Welcome to Empire in Decay. I'll take you to the basic steps so you can take your rebellion to the throne. Thank you, cool. These are your supporters. Yay! It's chat. If you want your revolution to succeed, you need to protect them. I'll protect you, chat. Your enemies will appear in the last row. Their next move will be marked in red on the board. So I do like the fact that I have cards and it's a board-centric game. Alina of the Arena was the only board-focused deck building game that I've played, so I'm excited to see potentially another variation of that. Your deck has units and actions. Got it. Your units represent different chess pieces. It actually is chess. I wasn't completely sure. Their move and capture following their rules. You got pawn, you got the rook, all that stuff. Interesting. Using cards costs action points. You can only play cards during your turn. Cool. So we got the Slay the Spire portion. We got the chess portion. Yeah, cool. We got the enemy here. The thug seems to only be attacking in front. Interesting. It's actually not attacking like a pawn from what I'm understanding. Hey, I got 100% courage though, so that's a good start. Let's grab a soldier. The cells and grid comprise the deployment zone. You know, all things considered, this might not be as complicated as I thought it was going to be originally. I'm quite excited. I say this, but we'll see. This does seem like the soldier is going to attack at the front as well, so we'll put him here. You can also play action cards. Select the sabotage card to use. On enemy, 10 damage on ally, plus 50% something. Okay, this is a versatile card. It can be used on enemies or on yourself. I like the fact that you can have versatility. That gives more options for the player, I guess. All right, let's do damage to you. Boom. Unless the card description says otherwise, use action cards, go to the discard pile. Okay, yeah, basic stuff. You have run out of energy. Ah! Press enter to start the enemy's turn. All right. Okay, so they always automatically attack. I see. Cool. And we don't attack at the same time, it would seem. Units already on the board can move once per turn. Possible targets appear highlighted. Cool. Move your soldier to block the enemy unit and watch as he automatically attacks. Can't move this way, right? Because he's a pawn. So you can only go forward. Interesting. Boom. Okay. Pretty straightforward. Now spawn a knight in the second column. Do you actually move like a normal knight? Oh, you do, because I'm going to attack over there, right? You can use your cards to damage enemy units. Press enter when you're done. Oh, this is exhaust. Okay, yeah, well. And at this point, we all agree, right? Slay the Spire was the one I really got everybody into these games, so let's just use their words. They work great. So at the top is kind of like a summary of the card, and then the bottom is the text. Makes sense. Oh, there's a rewind button. I like that. That means this should be pretty strategic. All right, so he's gonna move. They're all both gonna attack. Boom. I'm gonna take some damage here. That's a funky looking fella. Units can perform capture moves. This is a very powerful tool since it immediately kills unarmored enemies. Let's try it. Move your soldier to capture that thug. Okay, so in that regard, it's like chess. Wait, so that means you can also do it over here, right? So what's the point of damage then? Probably for the armor. All right, so let's capture. Oh, we've got some animation. Oh, yeah. Let's get to the other knight. Yeah, cool. Got it. So health is not necessarily super important. Boom. Show me that animation. I will say, one thing I've noticed about this game so far is that it takes itself pretty seriously, which, again, you don't really see these kind of games that often anymore. I do appreciate it. You can also inspect a card. Inspect exploit weakness. This icon marks the range where you can use a card. This card is removed from the deck if not used when in the hand. Increase every time it is played. But it's ethereal, so you have to find some kind of mechanic to make that work. Heal a unit. I guess we'll do this. We're trying to get rid of the armor so we can capture them. I'm assuming they can also capture us. It shows where they're gonna go, which I would imagine is also being captured. All right. Oh! No! No! My friends! When there are no more enemy waves, your faction's supporters expand. Which is not good, right? This machine is hurting your supporters. Use a final strike to destroy it. That's pretty powerful. ×2? It does it twice? An armor enemy cannot be captured. Instead, yeah, got it. Oh, capturing him does remove the armor. I see. Boop. And now I can capture you. Let's finish this off. Let's check out this awesome animation again. Is it going to be the same one, just throwing the axes? Which, again, makes... Oh, no! Well, it looks different. I still can... Wow, that's awesome. The amount of work put into the visuals is very entertaining, I will say. It looks like you read your lead to revolution. Okay, that's a tutorial? Really quick, really straightforward. I love it. All right, I'm excited to try an actual run now. Really curious to see where the roguelike stuff is going to be. Well, I mean, I got some ideas, different units and everything, but in terms of like upgrades and passives and everything, let's see. New Rebellion. Select your main faction. A secondary faction. Oh, this is like a monster train. So we got 3 factions to play with right now. Let's do a guild and inventor. So this is our little map area. This is the decay level. We got our health. We've got money. We got kick-ass music again. We've got some lore for each map, apparently. That's pretty cool. 4 inventors. I feel bad for them now. You start with an antiquity store. Grant 5 gold for every enemy unit you capture. So we got our first passive. Here you can choose an action card from your deck. So I like the fact that they're already providing with customization before even getting started. That way it makes it so that the first battle isn't always the same. That's nice. Discard 1 card and draw 2 more. I'm just gonna grab some actual support stuff. All right, our first battle. I like that they already have different aesthetics for different maps. We've got the leader. Oh, the leader is free. It's kind of like your champion in Monster Train. If you're not familiar with the chess movement, might get a little confused because I don't think there's a way of seeing how it moves other than the fact that it's a king. So I know it can move anywhere like this. I'm assuming that the thug can still capture me, right? Because it's a pawn, so I have to be careful. I'm gonna do this. So we got the Night Guard. Can you switch those around right now? No, you commit. That's a shame that you have to commit at the beginning. Oh, wait, you sure you want to restart the turn? Let's see how that goes. It's pretty quick. It's nice that the reload is pretty quick. All right, well, let's just do this. On enemy, 20. On ally, push a unit melee range. This card performs a push. It's a melee card and will push the enemy unit 1 cell backwards or cause extra damage if there's no room to push them. I like the fact that they have like a little tutorial pop up when the thing that happens. So, are you gonna die, right? Because if I'm not mistaken. Oh, and the start of turn. Oh, freeze or fire? Let's do freeze. Card, decks, crawler, surprise! Is it always a surprise crawler? It is! All right, we got some cool bots now. Lovely. All right, so you can move here. You can move. Oh, they even have the actual, like, chill out. Like, you'll get to fight someone. I promise. Can I put a little dude here? What do you do exactly? This card can be applied on an empty cell in the first row or adjacent to an ally. Oh, the card is removed from the deck afterwards. Can not move or attack for 1 turn. Oh, that's not great. Let's just put a little fellow. I like the fact that you have to be adjacent to an ally, so you have to move them. Let's put you here. I'm assuming they can also capture me. That would make a lot of sense, but I'm still not 100% sure. So you're gonna take 10. My courage is still up there. My little dude. My little crawlies. Why did you go? No! My friends! All right, are you gonna capture my guy? You did. Cool. Got it. It has to be depending on the movement. Like, pawn last turn already had planned its movement. Check. Oh! Act as your king. Oh. So, okay, we do have chess. Got it. So there is check. That's cool. That's so nice. Oh my gosh. I'm going to do the cool thing. Finally, you can hit this guy with your big thing. That was so sad to watch. We'll just backstab the hell out of you. Nothing personal, kid. Yay! Hey, we did it. Victory. We got coins. We got an action card. It's just one battle and then a boss? Cool. All right. You receive gold here. Don't tell me what I'm gonna do. Here you can purchase improvements for your cards. Cool. Or you can upgrade your units. I guess we'll grab some burning flying kick. Sounds pretty awesome, to be honest. So this poison flying kick. Hell yeah. All right, boss fight. Ready to start? I think so. We can play all of our units here. So we have to be careful with our leader and our current. Waves left 3. Yeah, so the fights are pretty quick. That's a lot of units. Wait, so they attack in front, right? So they're gonna move here and then they're gonna attack me. That's not super cool, to be honest. Poison units, we receive 10 damage per turn as long as charges remain. Doubles damage every turn? Oh wow, so you can really try to stack those things. Let's do some barrel plotings. Boop. So we got the kingpin up there. Adds 20 armor per turn. Interesting. Let's capture you. Show me that animation. Oh man. Where's my animation? No, I got scammed. Let's make sure this pawn is out of our way. Oh wait, you attack in front of you? Let's do some barrels. Bonk. You're gonna move here, and then if I move you, then I'll be able to capture you next turn. Cool. So some actual chess strategy. Nice. Let's make sure that you don't recover any armor. This should work. So you're dead. Yoink, yoink. All right. And now, so I could capture you, but let's make sure you don't have any armor left. And I want to make sure I get the animation on the king. So we're going to go slow motion. And... woo! Nice! Hell yeah! Victory! Nice! Reward. Oh, we got a bunch of stuff here. Oh, we can upgrade our hero. That's cool. All right, so I got a pretty good idea of what's going on here, but I'm going to continue playing on my end, and I'll circle back with my overall thoughts in just a moment. Okay, so I ended up just continuing that one run, and I beat it on the first try, so that felt pretty good. It was a 2.5 hour long run. Again, this was just a first time playing, so I took my time, but it took quite a while. There were a lot of different biomes to go through, but yeah, this was a very enjoyable experience. So let's just talk about it. First off, I'm going to talk about the gameplay. So the gameplay is indeed a blend of a lot of things, but mostly what it comes down to is actually a chess roguelike with cards like Slay the Spire. Now, I'm currently on a roll playing a bunch of chess roguelikes. It's a bit of a coincidence, but I figured it'd be really interesting to compare each one of them from one another. And I think this one is probably one of the more interesting ones out of the bunch, because it actually combines a few things and do them really well and actually allow the players to do a lot of really cool and unique builds from what I can see. It's chess. You've got your chess pieces, and what I like about this one is that you don't actually change the movement of these chess pieces. Pawns are always moving like pawns, bishops like bishops. I don't think there's anything that actually screws with that. And I like that because they really just stick to chess and add a lot to it without completely changing around how things move and feel. So I was quite surprised by that because I thought it was just going to be a very minor thing. And in this game, you're just, trying to get rid of as many pawns as possible, and for the boss fights, you're trying to kill the king. It's, you know, chess. Now, the developers did mention a lot of games that it resembled. They said that I would probably appreciate if I enjoyed these games, and one of the bunches, outside of Slay the Spire already mentioned, was actually Into the Breach. And I've got to say, I love Into the Breach, and I really did appreciate that aspect in this game. A lot of chess roguelikes I've been playing recently, you just do one action at a time and it's pretty straightforward, but here, you're actually moving all your units in a turn, and then all the enemies are then moving on one turn, which adds a lot more complexity and a lot more to keep track of, which does result ultimately in longer turns and more complicated turns, all things considered, but I think it does open up a lot more strategies, which I really appreciated. You really have to constantly be keeping track of all your units and all the enemy units and what can happen during a turn. There's a lot of possibilities, even though the board is quite small. And with the additions of the cards that are given to you, like Slay the Spire, it actually creates a really cool blend with a lot to keep track of. But ultimately, the great thing is, even though there's a lot going on, mechanically, it's not that complicated because, again, it's just chess with extra flair to it. I think even though I do say that the game is fairly simple, the longer you go through the run, the more units are going to have a bunch of text added to, you know, the pawns, the bishops, and everything. That can be a lot to keep track of, especially since in the later levels, you're going to be facing a ton of units. So it can be a little bit overwhelming by the end. I kind of wished actually that there was like one less biome maybe. But again, this is a very early build of this game. This is not even in early access. This is just an early beta that I got access to. We still don't have an actual date or an estimated date for this release, so that's something to keep track of. There were a lot of bugs and a lot of things that are obviously going to be improved. I'm not going to focus too much on that, but in terms of the gameplay itself, I think there's a really, really cool route. And ultimately, I really enjoyed the strategies that the gameplay really offered. In terms of the roguelike elements, I've got to say, I was pleasantly surprised. Once again, took a lot of inspirations from a lot of games. In this instance, I think Slay the Spire and Monster Train really came to mind in terms of the map and all the things that were offered to you. In terms of the map, there were a lot of different options and possible like events I could find, different shops. So basically you would have a cross path, and each cross path will have multiple things that you'll be able to interact with. One path will have a shop, one path will have money, one path will have an actual event. That to me really does come from Monster Train, and I will say not many games do this with just like a single path with many options and then straight back to battle. I really like that because it makes you feel like every single battle feels much more impactful, considering that you're going to be giving a lot of things to play with afterwards. So your deck constantly gets better and more exciting for how long you go in between each battle, which is great because a lot of deck building games usually you get a little stronger every single battle, but not necessarily that much from one battle to the other. But in this game, much more so than a lot of traditional deck building roguelikes in my experience. And again, roguelike wise, there's a lot. You got your relics, you've got different units that you can pick from. You can upgrade those units. I do wish that the upgraded units had more randomness. I think they're just a set path for each unit. But again, that's a lot to ask for. But the most interesting part, by far for me in terms of the roguelike elements, were the gems that you could add to cards. This actually reminded me of Wild Frost. Now, basically, you're going to find, like those gems like, oh, this gives plus 20 damage. But 20 damage could be applied to any card. And so it could be a spell, it could be a unit. And what that ends up doing is that you're going to customize cards to your liking, depending on what gems you find. I loved that. That really enabled some really cool combos that I created myself, and that was a really, really cool feeling. So for instance, I found like a plus 20 damage. I could have just put it on a single target thing, but I actually ended up putting it on an area of effect thing. And then I combined that with even more damage, and then I had some really cool barrels that exploded and did so much damage, and then I duplicated that barrel, and my deck was extremely strong. But that was thanks to my own creation, and that kind of customization is so satisfying. That's something that Wild Frost does really well. Every run feels fairly different thanks to the little pendants that you can put on cards, making them unique depending on the pendants that you're going to find. Now, that being said, I do hope that since I find this to be one of the coolest aspects in the roguelike elements, I hope they're going to go more towards the Wild Frost angle, where they're going to be really unique gems that you can infuse into the cards and maybe even push further this whole concept because of how cool it is to create your own things. That was really fun, and it was quite a surprise that you could do that on your units and spells, which ultimately feel very different, and they're going to have very different outcomes because they're very different kinds of cards, right? Like I put a stun effect on one of my units. It could have been on a spell for a one-time thing, area of effect, but I put on a unit so it's permanent throughout the entire battle every time my unit attacks. It's really cool, really cool stuff. I had to bring that up. I was really excited to go outside of combat constantly so I could just improve my deck and do all these really exciting roguelike things. The relics, your traditional passive effects that you find like in Slay the Spire and everything, some were cool. I do feel like some were much stronger than others. Again, balanced stuff to be expected will be adjusted throughout patches. Nothing too crazy out there. I think there could be some more interesting relics. Maybe that will happen later on, but ultimately didn't really matter because of how many other things you could interact with from the roguelike side. Next up, I want to talk about the audio visuals. The visuals are great. Obviously, this is on the higher end in terms of graphics for an indie game. It's kind of cool to see that for turn-based games. Usually that's more focused on action. So it was quite enjoyable to see that. There's a lot of details. I like the fact that different biomes and different levels felt quite immersive with the background and all the cosmetics, I guess. That was very enjoyable. The music is fairly minimalistic right now. I think there's only a few tracks, but in composition-wise, it's pretty good. The game does take itself pretty seriously again, which I enjoy. Currently, again, to be expected for an early version of the game, we're having frame drops. There's also some animation that don't sync with sound effects very easily. Some animations are a little late. These kind of things, these little things here and there, I'm expected to be fixed throughout the updates. But overall, once everything really flows nicely, it's gonna feel great. Currently, the things do feel a little slow, even though there's faster animations, which I love. That was definitely taken from Monster Train, where you could actually have like 4 different speeds. I appreciate that a lot. But I'm really excited to just see things flow really nicely and fit with the sound effects and everything. The kill animations are so unnecessary, and I love it. I don't know when they trigger. They kind of trigger randomly, I think, but when they do, and the fact that it can also happen against your own units and you get punished and you see this awesome animation and that every single unit has their own animations and I think also own deaths depending on who you're fighting. It's really cool. Why not? I love it. Those were my overall thoughts. Now I'm going to talk about some more specifics that I wrote down. These are mostly going to be just feedback, things hopefully that will be improved or looked at for future updates. Now, I did say that obviously balance was a little off right now, I think. That being said, I do think inherently, strategically, things can feel a little awkward at times. For instance, I've realized that there's not really a reason to move your units for a long time or even at all, considering that enemies are always flowing in from the top. If you just start moving, you're just gonna get cornered at the end. You can't really move back if you have pawns and everything. So strategically, the best plan of action is just to be in the back at all times and just let your spells do things. At least from that one run I did. I'm sure there are some builds where you might not want to do that, but I do feel like I could see myself getting stuck fairly easily if I started moving forward. So I'm wondering if that's going to be an issue for every single run and if the right strategy is to never really move. I would hope not, but that was my first impression in that regard, which wasn't a huge deal because it was still very fun and there was still a lot to do and there were still moments where I was going to move, but I do feel like you're going to be very vulnerable if you move your units at all. So that was one thing I've noticed. There are some quality of life things that I do expect to be fixed as well or implemented. One obvious thing is that when you are going to be choosing from a few cards, you can't actually hide that page. You can't look at the board and you can't see how much energy you have. There's a lot of these kind of examples that I could probably mention and bring up. If I was actually playtesting the game, then I would be probably doing a little list of that. But again, important things, it's small little things that I think are important to just mention. And in correlation with the quality of life stuff, I don't think there's an order of actions that is shown in the game. Currently, it's a little confusing to know how enemies move, considering there's no order. I do wish there was an order, so you can clearly understand where units were going to be moving, because it can be a little confusing if there's like, a rook and like a bishop, and one is in front of the other. How is that going to interact? It's not super clear, and I still don't fully understand it. I think they all move at the same time, but that's not really possible. I don't know. So I just wish it was more clear how it worked, and I think it would be cooler to just have a clear order instead of everything moving at once. But I could also see everything moving at the same time working. In any case, just wanting more clarity on that regard. One thing I've noticed that is also a little awkward is if there's a rook that just spawns on the enemy, or like a queen, they can immediately just attack your base, and there's not much you can do about that. Now, you can just have cards that will stop these units. I was lucky to have little bots that could stop them, but if I didn't have them, I would just automatically take damage. I kind of wish there was a clearer system to stop things on their path and to have more pulling/pushing mechanics, because that's where a lot of the strategy I think could be created, was when I was able to move things, push things, or pull things. I think that could really create really, really cool strategies, and there were some cards that did that, but it wasn't really implemented in the core mechanics of the game. So I just figured that was something to bring up. Was I would see a rook spawn, I'm like, well, they're immediately attacking me, and there's not much I can do about it unless I want to sacrifice a unit. So a little more awkward things here and there, but it didn't feel terrible because I had a really good build. But I could imagine if you don't have a really good build and you can't really stop that from happening, it could be rough. My last note is the boss fights. The boss fight is cool because you fight a king, and the king is pretty tanky and has some cool mechanics. But interestingly enough, I've realized strategically, the boss fights are way easier, because on every other battle, you have to kill every single unit to finish the level. But against the boss fight, if you kill the king, everybody dies, like all the enemies die. So it's just way easier, even though the boss is tanky and everything. If you just play your cards correctly, you can just focus all your attention on the king and just clear the confrontation much faster. And in that regard, I think normal fights are a little long. And I think if there was another way to finish a fight other than just always having to clear every single enemy, runs would be a little faster. The boss fight wouldn't feel as weak, considering that it's much faster to just kill the king. And thinking overall, it might potentially be something that would benefit the pacing and potentially add more strategy by doing something else to win battles instead of having to kill every single enemy unit every single time. I'm not too sure what I would do and if I would do anything differently, but that was the first thing that came to my mind after only playing one run. Again, I've only played for 2.5 hours, so this is still pretty, first impression vibe. And there you go. So those were my overall thoughts. I think this is a really promising chess roguelike. Honestly, I'm really impressed. The gem system is one of my favorite aspects of this game, which I did not expect. It feels like there's a lot you can do with it, and I hope they're going to expand even further. The awesome visuals, the really cool core mechanics, and the amount of content that the game is already offering in this early version. This is looking quite promising. I do hope that they add a little bit more to the individual fights to make them feel more varied instead of just having to always kill a bunch of enemies. But overall, this is looking really, really solid. So thank you to Empire in Decay for sending us your game and choosing the skip the line option. We really appreciate your support. If you're interested in setting your game for me to take a look at, feel free to check the description down below and fill up the form, and hopefully I can play more and more roguelikes. Thank you everybody for sending your games. This is just very enjoyable. Looking forward to the next chess roguelike.